Hello, one and all. Welcome to the Matchbook Horse Racing Podcast, where we are going to preview another unsettled weekend. That is weather-wise. Racing-wise, it's really good fare, but we're looking at the 7 ITV races. Well, we were, and we've just amended that slightly for you. So we've thrown in an extra race from Doncaster because that's the sort of people that we are. And we stripped one out of Cheltenham. We're looking at 3 there. And the reason for that is that Cheltenham, as we're doing this at midday on Thursday afternoon, Cheltenham's going to call an inspection in 26 hours, and any more rain that they get, it might well be off. And I don't think it's looking too good as far as Cheltenham goes. So what we'll do is we're going to do Doncaster first. We'll do best bets then for the weekend, and then we'll do Cheltenham off the back of that with the hope that it goes ahead. So if you know that it's not going ahead, you don't need to listen to the end of the podcast, or you might just like the sound of our voices so much that you do so. But fingers crossed, it all goes ahead. First of all, let's do the offer, the ongoing offer, which Micheál Deasy knows off by heart now. He doesn't even have to read it, Deasy.
No, off by heart is right, Tom. So it's a bet 10, get 10 offer available to all new customers. So if you sign up today, place your first bet of £10 or more at odds of 2.0 or more. And when that bet settles, you get another tenner. That's it.
That's it. It's the bet 10, get 10, 18 plus, be gamble aware. So we've got our northern correspondent for the Doncaster weather, and we've got our Cheltenham correspondent as well. None of those are Micheál Deasy, of course, because he's in Cork, so that wouldn't work. Adele, I mean, you're not exactly close to Donny, are you? But so far, it's getting away with it weather-wise, it seems. You're not, I know, but Doncaster should be okay, we think.
Yeah, I'm literally the next junction up from Wetherby, and you've seen how wet it is there. Doncaster seem to be missing it. They're racing tomorrow. So, I mean, they have had plenty of rain this winter, but they do seem to be missing it so far. So it's just whether they get any more tomorrow.
I should have introduced you, really. That's Adele Mulrennan, of course, and Steve Jones, our Cheltenham correspondent. That's not the only reason we get him on, but you've brought us some bad luck weather-wise from Cheltenham because we lost New Year's Day, and I don't know how good this is looking.
No, it was very wet last night. I'm about, I suppose, a dozen miles away, a bit further up, but it was very wet, and given that it was snowbound, I think the snow melted Tuesday here. I don't know what it was like in Cheltenham, but that's not going to help. And as you say, New Year's Day was called off, so you're starting from a pretty damp place, and it's only got wetter.
What are you working on conditions-wise at Doncaster? Are you thinking it's not going to be quite as bad as Heavy Jonesy, or are you looking at that?
I think it's interesting because from the entries, I think there's a lot of horses that want decent ground and have gone to Doncaster because that's where you get it sometimes, or more often than a lot of places, and I don't think it's going to be that. So I'm working on properly soft ground, perhaps not heavy, but certainly properly soft. Yeah,
certainly a bit of a test. Let's get stuck into it then. So as I say, Doncaster first of all, and then we'll do best bets, and then we'll do Cheltenham with the hope that it is on. The Yorkshire Rose Mares Hurdle is the 205 at Doncaster. A couple of Nicky Henderson mares right towards the top of the betting currently. You've got a 3.5 shot in the form of Marie's Rock, who went off at 3.0 last time at Newbury and was well beaten by stable companion Floressa, who reopposes here. Is trying to give £2 to Marie's Rock, and Floressa is trading it currently a slightly bigger price of 4.0, the same price as Miranda. You've got Irish Row and Rain as well, both in there at 15.0, and Sopat's a big old price. Adele, why don't you kick us off with this contest? I think I'm not sure if you were with us on the podcast when these two mares ran against each other last time, and I sided with the mare that went off favourite, and I think I was the only one that did, and I was wrong because she ran an absolute stinker. But they've changed it up a bit with her. They're sticking a tongue tie on, and hopefully that's going to bring about a little bit better. I think a hood's going on as well. How do you rate these two Nicky Henderson mares, Adele?
I do like Marie's Rock. She's definitely got ability. I just think there's risks with her when you're backing her because she obviously does race quite keenly and she can get quite sweaty. I think you can forgive her on a comeback run because she's been off for quite a while, and you can see why she would be quite enthusiastic and want to get on with things. So I can see why they've got the hood on her, and obviously she's got the tongue tie on as well. But I just think if she's going to be keen like that again, I don't know whether they just might be better off just maybe letting her go forward. I know she got a nice lead off the rest of before. So there is risk with her, I think, if you're going to back her. So I think if I was if I was going to stick with one, it'd have to be Floressa. I think you kind of know what you're getting with her. You know, she's a good mare. She ran well in the Christmas hurdle, and I think she'd be better, obviously, against her own sex as well. So I think at the prices, you know, I'm not usually one for favourite backers, but I think you just know what you're getting with Floressa.
Yeah, so she's currently a little bit bigger than her stable companion at the moment, which I have to agree, I think is slightly surprising. So looking at the race before prices were out, I thought Marie's Rock will go off probably second fav, and because she was disappointing last time and I could see myself siding with her. I just can't argue she should head the market. I think she'll run a lot better. For me, this will be a waiting game to see if she does ease out a little bit. I wouldn't want to take the price back Floressa currently and nothing else leaps out at me. Maybe the ground was a bit quick for Marie's Rock last time as well. I wasn't sure about that. It was good ground. But I'm hoping she just eases to a backable price, but she's not there at the moment. So as it is currently, I'd probably be sitting it out. Jonesy, what about you?
Yeah, interesting for the Nicky Henderson horses there, because Nico de Boinville obviously rode Marie's Rock in the race at Newbury, what used to be called the Jerry Fielden. The Epatante won the previous year. So I think there was a lot of that they'd seen a Nicky Henderson mare win the Jerry Field and then go on to win the Champion Hurdle, and everyone jumped on Marie's Rock. That was a bit of a bandwagon because she was unbeaten. But she does a lot wrong. Like Adele says, she's very keen, and I'm not convinced by her, to be honest. I thought she bullied quite weak races, even though one of them was a listed race when she was a novice. And I think she's got to calm down a hell of a lot. And she's had another break. So I'm not convinced with her. I'm not particularly convinced with Floressa. I thought she got an easy time in the Jerry Field, and when she won under Jerry McGrath. And that form is certainly nothing special for my mind. So I want to take them on. But you look down the list, and what do you come against? I think Miranda is a lot better horse on decent ground. She has one on soft, but I'd worry about her on soft ground. She was beaten at Musselburgh on New Year's Day. So the one I'm going to come down on, the horse that's got the track form, it's got the race form, having finished runner-up in this a couple of times, including last year, is Irish Row. Was second to Lady Buttons. Well, there's no Lady Buttons in here this year. And Floressa was third, beaten a length behind Irish Row last year. Now, the problem with her is the softer ground. She does have form on soft ground, but her best form is on a decent surface. But at the prices, you say 15.0, I'd much rather have a small bet on her than want to be taking anything at the top of the market in the Henderson one. So, yeah, it's Irish Row, the old mare of the party.
And would that be sort of level stakes between place market, win market, or one market favoured over the other, Steve?
I think with just the six runners, I'm not someone who wants to bet the first two, to be honest. So it would just be a small win bet on Irish Row. Small win. And
Micheál, Deasy, for you?
Yeah, I actually backed Floressa this morning when the prices came out because I thought that she should be favourite. I thought the Marie's Rock was priced up as fav based on reputation from last year. But I stick with Floressa. I backed her last year on this, and she was she let me down. And Jonesy's probably onto something with her show. That's definitely the value betting this. But I think Floressa has the form in the bag this year, and the market is moving in her favour. Now I think she'll definitely go off favourite. So I'm going to stick with her, but wouldn't be a massive bet.
Floressa, small bet for you. Have I missed something with Jockey Bookings? Is this a straight choice for Nico de Boinville here that he's chosen Floressa?
Well, Jerry McGrath's obviously out injured at the moment, so that's I'd imagine he had the choice, but because Tom Cannon, he's not someone who rides a lot for Nicky Henderson, is he? If ever, so.
No, or Midland Park. I'm not missing anything there, am I? I'm just throwing.
He won the handicap at Ascot on Craignish for Nicky Henderson last week.
Oh.
Yeah. Stick that in your pipe and smoke it, Jonesy. Yeah, it's interesting. I think we're all in agreement that the market it may just come round the other way to favour the other mare. So there you go. Theresa for Adele and Deasy, an Irish Row, small win bet at a chunky old price for Steve. And unless Marie's Rock drifts out, I'm probably not going to get involved personally. Let's kick on to the next at Donny. It's the River Don Novices Hurdle, 240 this is. I remember Barters Hill winning this race a few years ago. It was an absolute cracker and I loved it. Odds at the moment, then, I will tell you very shortly. We have got good old Ashtown Lad back after a disappointing run last time. But Flash Calange is the one that heads the betting. 6 really open contest for a race of this type. 6.0. Emir Sakra is 6.5. Asker Honeybee 7.0. Ashtown Lad 8.0. As is Pat's Fancy. Bob Hope or No Hope. It's a great name. One of the likely pace angles 9.0. Fernhill 10.0. Then we're into double figures. Proper open contest. Deesh, you can kick us off with this then.
I think this is a very good race. There's some nice horses in here. I've just kind of whittled down to Bob Hope or No Hope or Pat's Fancy, and I'm leaning towards Bob Hope or No Hope. I thought that watch Bob Hope or No Hope in his last 2 races, and he's a very game horse. He beat Asker Honeybee. Was it on his first run this season, and at one stage Asker Honeybee passed Bob Hope or No Hope out, got 2 lengths ahead, and Bob Hope or No Hope just rallied and got past her again. It was a very game win, and even his last run as well, the exact same thing. He was idling out in front, horses came at him, and he just found a bit more and kept going again. I think he could be. I like seeing that. I like seeing horses that can just pick it up again. I think he could be a very good horse. So I would put him up. I might have a small win bet on Pat's Fancy as well, because he kicked Gladiator Allen out of the way 2 runs ago at, I think it was at Exeter on heavy ground, and then ran very well last time at Cheltenham behind John McConnell's horse. I can't remember his name, So Good or something. The
horse that you put up, Dees, make good.
Yeah. I was only watching the winner. I didn't notice Pat Fancy at all came second until I was looking at it last night. But I think 2 of them have a very good chance in this, so I'm going to stick. My main bet will be Bob Hope or No Hope, and I will have probably a small win bet on Pat's Fancy as well. And I'd also have this. Third one. There was one horse down the bottom there, Port Storm. I would advise anyone to go back and look at his last run at Ayr. If you just pick on the closing stages of it, he's not even in the screen. There's 3 horses in the lead. There are 10 lengths in the lead, and he just picks them all up in the run and jumps 2 hurdles and wins causally. Now, this is a massive step up for him, but I thought that was a very impressive win last time, and he's going to be about 55.0, so maybe have a tiny win bet and a bit of a place bet in him as well.
So 3. I mean, genuinely, you'll have. They're an open contest.
Yeah, I'd be doing win bets now on Bob Hope or No Hope and Pat's Fancy, and like Port Storm is going to be with a bit of change. I wouldn't be. This is purely based on his last run, but it's a massive step up from. But like back in the big shot, the big price ones as well every now and again.
Yeah, and you nail them as well. You've landed a few too. What about actually? If I jump in on Pat's Fancy, if I can, I think that's my selection for the race. And because you mentioned him, I thought he wanted more of a test actually than he got last time behind Make Good, but they didn't go all that quick. And I know I don't think the trip is absolutely fine, and I think softer ground here and a guaranteed test, because Bob Hope or No Hope is a likely pace angle, and Exploiteur I think is. Won't be ridden too far. No, sorry, not Exploiteur. Fernhill is the other one who I thought would go forward. So Bob Hope or No Hope and Fernhill. And I don't think the Nichols also be too far away either. So I think you'll get a decent test here. And I thought Pat's Fancy ran okay last time in a race where Make Good fairly bolted up, to be honest. So second go at 3 miles, I think will really suit. 8.0, I think is very fair win and place for me on Pat's Fancy. Jonesy.
Yeah, it's going to sound pretty boring, but I think Pat's Fancy is a really good bet. I was with Dees actually. I was interested when he said Bob Hope and No Hope and Pat's Fancy, because those are the 2 that I like. I'm going the other way with Pat's Fancy more than the other one, and just think his form is really solid all the way through from his bumper debut at Fosslas in October, when he was second to Alaphilippe, who's a horse of Fergal O'Brien's, who's won a couple of times over hurdles since and finished second in a really hot novices hurdle at Taunton last weekend under a big weight. So that was only in October. So Pat's Fancy's come quite a long way in a short space of time. Won again at Fosslas in heavy ground, so we know that he likes deep ground, and that was only in November when he beat Gladiator Allen, who obviously, as Dee said, is a good horse, and that was a good run and a really promising hurdles debut. To go then off the back of just one run, having only made your debut in October, to go into a Grade 2 at Cheltenham and finish second, I think was a really good effort, because experience counts for a lot in those graded novices hurdle. And having had just the one run over hurdles, I think was a big disadvantage in Pat's Fancy to finish second in front of some good horses, including Oscar Honeybee. I thought that was great. And this is a real stayer of a horse. And this bigger field with the solid pace, as Tom says, is likely to happen. It's just got so much going for him. I really like Pat's Fancy. So he's my one.
Great. Adele, are you going to bring up the Pat's Fancy 4-timer or look elsewhere?
No, unfortunately. I've picked 2 because I wasn't quite sure what the ground was going to be like. Obviously, we don't know whether they're going to get any more rain or not. So I had Bob's Hope or No Hope, who was a non-runner on heavy ground previously. So he's got 2 wins on good ground. So I had him down just in case they don't get any more rain. And if they do, then I've got Exploiter, who's a bit of a mud lover, 2 wins on heavy ground, including under Lily Pinchin. So she takes the ride back on him on Saturday. And I just depends really on whether they get any rain or not, because he sees out the trip really well. And, if there is a strong pace, I think he could bring up the later stages of the race. He's in deeper races now, but I still think he might have a little bit more to offer. So just depending on whether they do get some more rain or not. But I will be playing both of them at the place market.
Okay, so 9.0 and 11.0 respectively. And when that place market develops, you can imagine the sort of price you're going to be getting. So Bob Hope or No Hope and Exploiter. So a couple of shouts for Bob Hope or No Hope, and keen on Pat's Fancy, the team as well. Let's kick on to the next contest, which is a listed handicap chase. It's the 315, and plenty of good horses have won this in the past. It's traditionally known as the Sky Bet Chase. Canelo's right up there, the horse that Adele found to win the Roland Merrick on Boxing Day, 5.5. It's Cap du Nord who heads the betting at 3.5. 1 for the team. Oh, he's going to win the Ultima, so I don't know whether he wants to win this. He is 8.0. I write 10.0, as is Musical Slave. Then we're into the double figures. Go on, Dees, kick us off.
Oh, the horse I picked out for this wasn't declared, and he's going to win the Kimure Cap Course, Paul Nicholas horse. He's in off 135. But I'm going to go for a different JP horse in this. I'm going to go for Musical Slave, the one down the bottom. And Tom O'Brien is on him for Philip Hobbs. I think Tom O'Brien is an unbelievable jockey. I'm delighted to see him on him. So Musical Slave ran behind. Sorry, I don't know. Just getting up here in front of me. Ran behind Clondalk Castle at Newbury on the 27th of November. Now, he was making his move towards the end of the race, and he hit the last and just did nothing after that. But I thought he had a bit more up his sleeve. He's running here off the same mark. There's been a small bit of support from already. So I'm going to stick with him down the bottom of the weights. Musical Slave.
Trying to find a price for you. I don't know if you said one, Dees. 10.0. I gave you that, didn't I? Musical Slave. One of 2 JP horses in the race. Tom O'Brien and Philip Hobbs teaming up. Adele, for you?
I do like Canelo, and I did tip him to win the Roland Merrick, but the time before he was, of course, beat by Cap du Nord. I'm going to stick with the favourite. He was second to the horse of Venetia Williams, who went on to win the Peter Marsh. So, his form's working out well. And he looks well weighted again on Saturday. Obviously, you got Jack Tudor again offsetting £3 off that. So he's the one for me. I just thought for a little place bet, Rocky's Treasure, Grade 2 winner at Doncaster. And I thought if he got his head back in front last time out, he might just have done his confidence some good. So maybe it might be worth having a little place bet on him while his confidence high.
Just because you mentioned Royal Pagaille, Adele, who the horse that beat Cap du Nord last time. I mean, his form is really good, Cap du Nord, and anything that's got within 3 1/4 lengths of Royal Pagaille. I know he's gone up £6 for his troubles, which is never nice for finishing second. But my God, that horse is any form with him is worth sitting up and taking note of, right?
Exactly. I'm not one for favourite backers. I never usually am, but I think given the fact that his form's worked out so well, you can see why he's a worthy favourite for me.
Yeah, and I can't believe I think he's just going to be strong in the betting because of that Royal Pagaille form, who could end up a Gold Cup horse.
Can I just put a question to you about Royal Pagaille while we're here?
Yeah.
If Royal Pagaille wasn't in the Rich Richie colours, would anyone be on about him for the Gold Cup? Because he won a staying handicap chase beating Plotters the last time. And
I think,
and if he wasn't in the Rich Richie colours, would people even be talking about him for the Gold Cup? I think it's mental.
Really,
mental.
He's going to be rated. I haven't seen what they've done with him.
He's gone up to, I think he's up to 166 now or something.
Okay, so
yeah, 166.
So that's exactly the same, I think, as Coneygree when he won the Gold Cup. I'm sure he was rated 166.
And I think the big difference with Royal Pagaille, he's had experience over fences in France. He's not a novice who's had 3 runs and then they're going for the Gold Cup. I was talking to Nick Luck at Taunton last week, and he was saying the RSA, and he's not a novice. Don't be so daft. Because I presumed he'd won in France because he'd run so many times, but no, they've got lots of options. I think he's a gold. I think there's a very few live British trained Gold Cup contenders, and I think he's got to be near the top of them.
It maybe the Rich Richie factor adds to it a bit, but it's not as if he won a ropey handicap chase. He won a race that's been won. I mean, I think the Thinker won it a good few years ago, went on to a Gold Cup. So
you're going back a long time.
Well,
it's
got that mold, isn't it? It's got that. It can, if a winner like that who wins it on the bridle is worthy of being talked of in that company, I think.
It's style over substance as well. It wasn't so much the form was fantastic. It was the way he did it, and the way he also won his previous race that I think has been the most impressive.
Yeah, I wouldn't back him for a Gold Cup, but I sort of hope he adds a bit of spice to it, right? He adds a bit of. Otherwise, we're just talking about a horse who we see once a year over in Ireland and then rocking up in the Gold Cup, and I can't really get excited about anything else. So, Adele, do you want to add anything?
No, I think you've covered everything. So, I think the way you did it, I thought you kind of have to note him definitely.
Basically shooting Deasy down. Being like, no,
that's all right. Then we don't have to agree on everything. I was just asking the question.
Yeah, quite right. Where do we get to? Is it just me to go on this? I think it is. Oh no, Jonesy. Sorry, Jonesy. Go on, take it away.
Do you want to hear what I've got to say about this race? Well, I think it's interesting. The favourite, Captain Orr, Christian Williams, obviously trains him. He rode the winner of this race 12 years ago, I think. Big fella, thanks. So I thought he might be the first jockey or trainer to have ridden it, but he's not. There's been 2 others. So whose names I can't remember. I think one of them was
been nailed on for that. I can't believe it.
Yeah, I think Bob Turnell maybe.
Bob Hope or No Hope? No.
Bob Hope or No. Anyway, back to the race in question. I think it's a very tricky race. I kept going round in circles. I think the Butcher said might have a race in him, but he likes to be held up, and we're not convinced Doncaster, this sort of ground, that's where you want to be. So the one I came down on is the one I think's got the best form, and that's I Right. Third, it's Surname at Wetherby in the Charlie Hall, went from the front, and I would only sort of gave way to Surname and Vindication over the last fence or 2, and then finished second in the Hennessy. Maybe better ground suits him a little bit, but the ground was soft at Wetherby, and he saw the trip out fine. He's unexposed over 3 miles, which is an interesting one, and he had a spin around Newcastle on the all-weather in one of those bumpers the other day, so he should be pretty there much. And he might not be fantastically well handicapped, which you could argue Captain Orr is, but I think he's a very reliable horse who'll give it a good go. So yeah, I Right for me.
and I was between I Right, who is 10.0, and Taking Risks, who's pretty much outsider of the field, floating around 34.0, and you might get bigger. But just because of that price on Taking Risks, I can't have him as outsider of this bunch. He ran okay in the rehearsal last time, the race won by York Hill, of course. He's dropped a pound. The ground would have been quick enough for him there, and he was a big price then, and he was on a bit of a recovery mission because since his win in the rehearsal in 2019, he's not really shown anything. But that did come off £3 lower on testing ground. I'm banking on it being heavy at Donny. If it's not, then that doesn't really help him. But he ran on with a good bit of promise on ground that would have been a bit quick last time. He was over hurdles prior to that, and then they did his wind. So second start since the wind up. But I can see him running well here with that run under his belt, back on more testing ground, and eased ever so slightly in the handicap for a yard that are going along quite nicely, Nicky Richards, and actually have been pretty much all season. But I thought he was a big old price. So it wouldn't be massive stakes, and certainly paying in the place market as well as the win market, but Taking Risks for me. Let's kick on to the race that we've added, which is the 350, a 3-mile handicap chase. I'll get some prices up for you for this contest. Interesting little contest, I thought, given that we've got 11 showing up. Actually, no prices at the moment, so we're guessing game a little bit with regards to how the market's going to shape up. But I think we can take a stab as to how it should do that. Deasy, you kick us off with this then, with the 350 at Donny.
If Merchant Knight learned how to jump properly, I'd be very interested in him. But I'm going to go for Agamemnon. Agamemnon was third in this last year off top weight. Gets in here now, carrying 11-1. He's down 7 pounds in his rating. Paddy Brennan is on him. I think I don't know our prices, so I've just been kind of looking at their previous form. So he was the one that stood out for me. And Merchant Knight, I think that is probably a good horse and is probably better than his mark, but his jumping just lets him down. He just gives away links and jumps all over the place, but seems to be getting better. Maybe today is the day that he put it all together and go close. So I'd be probably dodging the two of them depending on the price.
I'm going to jump straight on your Agamemnon bandwagon because I think it'd be a fair price based upon the run at Market Raisin last time on heavy ground, in a better race than this. Dropping back in grade, was pulled up on reappearance. That was obviously disappointing, but third in this race last year when the ground may not have been testing enough. So I think Agamemnon's a very fair shout. So I'll jump on that bandwagon with you, Adele.
I've picked two out. I thought it was a bit of a tricky one. I've got the Late Legend, who is a horse that seems to, he needs plenty of confidence, and he likes Sedgefield, and it's probably because the fences are not very big there. But he also does like Doncaster. He ran well there last time out. Although he was well beaten, he pulled well clear of the rest of the field. So he goes well at Doncaster as well. And I quite like Who's in the Box, who was a winner at Market Raisin. I still think he's quite unexposed, a point winner. Saw out the trip really well that day. And the horse that was second to him at Market Raisin has gone on and won. So just a bit of form, let's go with him as well. So I've got two picked out. I thought it was a hard one.
The Late Legend and Who's in the Box for Adele. Again, no official prices. Jonesy?
Financial outcome for me. So I'm hoping after Pat's Fancy, it's going to be a good day up at Donny for Rebecca Curtis. This horse has the only race that Financial Outcome won was at Doncaster around this time last season. And although it was only a 4-runner race, and this is much, much, much more competitive, he clearly likes the track and he goes well in soft ground. And I thought he ran quite well last time at Bangor. He just checked out in the closing stages, and he might well have needed that. That was his first run after a wind operation. He's had a few of those, so his breathing's obviously not great. And if they've solved that, then I think he's got a really good chance, because he's always been a horse with a lot of potential, and maybe the breathing's been holding him back. And with a promising run behind him at Bangor, I think he's got a good chance.
Yeah, previous course winner. For a yard, your views on the yard, Jonesy? I think they've only had about 6 or 7 winners this year. Do you sort of have I tend to try and find a time when they're coming into form, because I think they don't often go through the season chipping away, if you like. What's your view on the yard?
I think Rebecca Curtis is a good trainer. She showed that a few years ago, but then she's been through a few trying times and is probably just trying to build it back up again. She trains right on. I don't know if you've been there in West Wales. It's nearer Ireland than England, and she's right on top of the cliff. And so they go down on the beach now. It's a beautiful spot in Pembrokeshire. It's a bit cold, but yeah, she's a really good trainer. But as I say, she's perhaps not got the horses that she once did have, and is having to build back up again. But the trainer certainly wouldn't put me off, and I think Financial Outcome's got a good future in front of him if they can solve the problems.
Yeah, the likes of At Fisher's Cross in the past, and maybe just needs a really good horse or two, and might get that with Pat's Fancy running Graded Company earlier on. Let's do best bets then for Saturday. We'll just keep them away from Cheltenham because it may not be definitely going ahead, but it can be Donny or anywhere else. Deasy, your best bet?
I stick with Bob Hope or No Hope in the 240 Doncaster.
Adele, your best bet?
I'm going to go in the first race at Doncaster, a horse called Sunset West, who was second at Newcastle in December to On Guard. Is it On Guard or On Card?
Of Dr. Deasy found it last week.
Yeah, so just a little bit of form there. He's kind of an up-and-coming jockey, Joe Williamson, but he's doing well. He's had a couple of winners of late, so he's got a good ride. So it'd be nice to see him rewarded with a winner.
That's Sunset West in the Doncaster opener. Steve Jones?
Pat's Fancy. I'm going to take Deasy on with Bob Open, No Hope.
I wanted to put up Pat's Fancy, but I didn't want to steal him off everyone else then as well. Hopefully we get the 1-2. Very happy with the 1-2.
I will go with Taking Risks, who I think is a massive price. My enthusiasm would be tempered if it wasn't heavy ground, but Taking Risks, win and place for me. Cheltenham then is hopefully going to go ahead. If you've got this far and you know it doesn't go ahead, it's up to you. You can listen on because you might unearth some future gold. Or you might not. You might have something better to do. But obviously, we're going to take the opinion that it is going to go ahead. We're going to look at 3 races for you. And it's a great card. So I hope that Trials Day, which has produced plenty of festival winners, subsequently does go ahead. So kicking off, first of all, with a Grade 3 handicap chase. The 150, decent sized field for this. So I'll give you prices once you give me the horse, if you like. Adele, take it away with the Grade 3 handicap chase. Yet another over this distance at Cheltenham. It seems we get the usual suspects rocking up each time.
Yeah, God, I thought this was a little bit of a hard one to go for. I've actually gone for Cato Rico. I don't know if anyone's seen his run last time at Cheltenham. That was in November. He was behind Al Dancer. That was his first run since a wind operation. So I think he's got the tongue tie on. He had plenty to do from his position. He was kind of like last most of the way round. He's had another tidy up as well with his wind, and obviously he's got a tongue tie on. So there is maybe a little bit of still improvement there to come with that. But he absolutely finished like a trooper. So just thought if the races run at a strong pace again, I just thought it might bring up the closing stages. Brian Hughes has won 4 races on and gets on well with him. So I'm going to play him at the place market depending on what price he is.
He's about 13.0, so you get a decent place.
A nice place bet on him.
Nibble for a win or no?
Very small one, I think.
I learnt my lesson with First Flow last week. Jonesy.
Yeah, well, Adele's dog clearly agrees, so he wants to get on as well.
Big fan.
I like this race. I love these series of 2.5 mile handicap chases at Cheltenham. The Giant Bolster won this a few years ago. Won 3 times on this day for my old mate Simon Hunt, and then should have won the Gold Cup one year, but that's history. And also his history is ASO's form, my old mate. I fancied him in the Beecher Chase, but he was never going to stay, was he? And he didn't even get very far. But I think he's come down to a mark he can win off. He was second in the Ryanair Chase a couple of years ago to Frodon, and that's the sort of level he's been at for most of the time. And I think he's just starting to get a chance now in the handicap. And these conditions, he likes Cheltenham. He handles the ground fine. He gets on the front end. And although he's getting on a bit, I think there's still races to be won with him. And we saw last weekend, Venetia Williams is in good form. So it's ASO for me.
Yeah, I completely agree. He's £3 lower than when winning over this course and distance on New Year's Day a few years back. And ever since you put him up a few starts ago, I thought Jonesy knows what he's talking about. But he's just becoming well treated. I know he's top weight, but he's 155, and this is. But the trouble is, it's going to be too heavy for Venetia's horses because it might not be on. But I can see it, and it's a massive old price. I think for the form he's shown of old. If you can be looking at 17.0 for race, I cannot believe he's going to go off anywhere near that, particularly given his run style. So you can probably ensure you have a free bet as well. So I'm jumping on that bandwagon very much. Deasy.
Yeah, I'm rolling in behind Adele with Puerto Rico as well. The value in his price is disappearing now already. He was 16 and 17.0 this morning and yesterday, but like second one after wind up, very good run the last time. I think he's a good solid place bet, and I think Caribbean Boy has a very good chance of it at the top of the market. I think he's a very good jumper. He was actually I had him picked out to beat Master Tommy Tucker. He was entered up against him the first time Master Tommy Tucker won this season, but he went to Haydock instead, I think a week later, and won. Didn't have much of a chance against Dashel Drasser last time, finished third, but wasn't really ridden out. I think it may have been, he may have just chasing him down might have cost him too much energy, but I think he's a decent horse. I think he's a very nice jumper, and I think he's a good chance in this, but he'll be a short enough price. I think he's about 5.5, is he?
Yeah, and would you take that or not?
I would, but I take a win only.
Caribbean Boy win only, and Puerto Rico agreeing with Adele for that one. We move on to the Cotswold Chase, which actually last year had a winning favourite in the form of Santini for I think it was about the first time ever. It just so rarely happens. Santini, who, if Cheltenham does go ahead, is unlikely to run because Nicky Henderson said if it's generally heavy ground, that's not what he wants. So we won't run him there, and we'll give him an entry for Haydock instead, because that'll be good. But yeah, they've done that for the Grand National Trial. But there we go. So I think Santini unlikely to run as it stands at the moment. 3.0 for Bristol Demai, 4.0 Santini, Native River 5.5, St Calvados is 6.5, and then you get into the double figures. Jonesy, take it away.
Well, Bristol Demai is the most likely winner, I think. People say that he doesn't like Cheltenham because he's never won there, but he's run some really good races. He was second, obviously, in this race last year behind Santini. And if you go down, he's also been third in it to Definitely Red, and he's run well in the Gold Cup. So the track, for me, isn't a problem. He loves the ground. We saw what he can do at Haydock in the Betfair Chase, which is his kind of race when he beat Clanster Zobo and lost in translation. And he's got an awful lot going for him, but it's just the price does it for me. And I don't really want to go in large on a horse like him, who's, although he is a reliable old boy, that he can be vulnerable. And I just want to throw, if there's the dead eight, I'm going to throw small place and a little bit of win at Lakeview Lad. And I know people will say the circumstances of his win at Aintree when he beat Santini in Native River and Frodon was all in his favour because they took the fences out and Santini needed the run and Native River probably needed the run. But if you go back to his other form, he was third in the Ultima at the festival a couple of years ago behind Beware the Bear when he was staying on really well. He stays really well. And although he didn't take to the Aintree fences, he's a high-class staying horse. And I just think he might have been underestimated. So I chance him at the biggest price.
Lakeview Lad, who is 17.0. Dees?
I'd be the same, Lakeview Lad. I was reading there this morning, they were on about Cheltenham. They said that if it does go ahead, they will probably take fences out. So it'll be similar conditions to his winning entry. I think he's a value price. He's drifted a bit now, but he should handle conditions. I mean, this is over 3 mile 2. You're going to, if it's on and it's very heavy ground, you're going to need to stay 4 miles. I think he'll be able to do that. And I think he's a small win and a nice place bet.
Adele?
I'm exactly the same as both Jonesy and Deasy. So I've got Bristol de May and Lakeview Lad. So very boring to kind of repeat everything they've said, really. But if the fences are out, obviously you do going to need a stayer. So that's Lakeview Lad and then Bristol de May. I just think this year just seems to, I think he's just seems to be like he's had the better prep run as well prior to this. He's a fantastic horse, and I know he's winless in 6 runs, but I think he'll get his head in front on Saturday, and for the place market then I'll be playing Lakeview Lad.
Lakeview Lad and Bristol de May, and I'll go. I'll chuck a bit of money on the conditional for. I think we've already mentioned the Giant Bolster today. Tom Scudamore and David Bridgewater teamed up with this race a few years ago, and I know he's got a bit to find, but he likes the track, and I loved that performance. Well, I hated the performance in the Ultimate because about the 2nd and the 3rd, but it's a good performance. So it would be small, but the conditional for me. We move on to the Cleeve. 3:35 this contest, and it's going to be great to see Paisley back, having won this race last year. He's a warm order at the top of the betting, 1.67 at the moment, Itchy Feet 5.5, 8.0 main fact, and then into the bigger prices. I'll come straight out and say I'm sitting this race out. I can't really fight. I think Paisley Park's just confused me now because of the affection I have for the horse, and I find that really complicated from a betting point of view. I really love the horse, and I took him on last time and ended up shouting for him to win, which is weird. So I can't really get involved. Certainly not with him at the prices. Adele?
A little bit like you, really, Tom, because everyone loves him now, don't they? He's got such a massive following, and you do, even if you've not backed him, you still want to shout for him. He's an absolute star of a horse. He's a serious tank of a horse. I do find it really hard to oppose him though, but I wouldn't. He's too short for me to back, so I would just be watching it and just cheering him on. Yeah,
fair. You're not allowed to dislike Paisley Park. Imagine if somebody said, "I hate Paisley Park."
No, I don't think anyone ever would say that anyway.
And well, when Sprinter Sacra came back and won his Queen Mother Champion Chase, I wasn't one cheering because I'd backed him the year before, and he was the 5th leg of a big old acca, which would have been absolutely wonderful. And he ran no sort of race, and he came back the following year. The whole world went mad, and I've never forgiven him. So there you go. He's always won. Jonesy?
Yeah, I backed Mr. Mole to beat Sprinter Sacra once. That was a good bet, wasn't it? That was a good bet. But Paisley Park, it sounds like you're a bit meatloaf with the price. You do anything for love, but you won't back him at odds on.
No, I won't do that. Definitely not.
So I think Paisley Park. The one thing with Paisley Park, especially his Stayers Hurdle win, I noticed when they switched the head on. I've never seen a horse run over a staying trip in soft ground at Cheltenham. Never seen a horse run so straight up the hill, and he's so powerful at the finish.
Strong, yeah.
He's impossible to oppose for me. I think the one horse that some people might think has a bit of a chance each way, if you're into taking 2 places, is Ramesses de Tay, because he goes through soft ground very well. But I just don't see anything beating Paisley Park. I don't see this as a strong a race as it was 12 months ago, and he had no trouble winning that. So everything's been said about Paisley Park, I think.
Are you a backer at odds on, or not necessarily?
No, I'm not really someone who bets odds on, to be honest. But there'd be worse horses to back at his sort of price. But I don't think there's anything clever in putting yourself in that position, personally.
No, Dees?
Well, I think Ramesses de Tay is an unbelievable bet in the without market if there is one up, and each way as well, because I think that he has loads of form on heavy ground at Cheltenham over 3 miles, and like he's the biggest. Like what is he, 26.0 at the moment? You're going to be getting about 4.0, 5.0 on him just to finish second. And I think if you take Paisley Park out of it, you still might be getting 10.0 or 11.0 for the win. I think he's a cracking bet in this, because like if it's on, it's going to be they are going to absolutely be swimming through the mud at this stage. And Ramsey's the table handled it, so no brainer for me.
You got to make that betting without market happen as our Matchbook representative, then, Dees.
Yeah, I know. I was on this morning. It's just it's a bit early yet, and there's no again there's no prices or anything yet. So Saturday it'll be up if it's on.
Yeah, well, we'll know about 2:30 on Friday afternoon. We might know sooner if there's a lot of rain tonight. But there you go. Good, we're done. Anyone got anything to add to the racing this weekend?
Yeah, I just got a tip in there on Facebook for a fella who told me that Noel Williams' horse is going to win the bumper at Doncaster. So there you go. Tom O'Brien, step to the top.
Okay,
there he is.
This is
ex-Matchbook employee Stephen O'Donovan. He's a great man. He's over with Noel Williams now. And so there you go. Step to the top in the bump. The lucky last at Doncaster.
Look at that. Deasy's Facebook pinging away in the background. I love it. Jonesy, you got any Facebook tips for us? No?
Yeah, but they're not related to horse racing.
Fair enough. Good stuff. Thanks very much indeed. That is our preview of the weekend. Fingers crossed Cheltenham's going to go ahead. We're not sure. But if not, Donny looks safe. And we've got a fair few bets from there for you. Adele, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Steve Jones, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
DC, as ever, thank you.
Thanks, man.
And we will see you again next week. Dublin Racing Festival, I think next week it is. Yes, so we'll be getting a good old preview for that action sorted next week. For now, for this weekend, best of luck.